Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well, I am half dressed, so you will have to bear with me today because we have had some very interesting developments in the last day or two. I'm going to be discussing two princes and their lawsuits and their battle against the press. And I am also going to, at the end of this, answer a question about the dresses of some of the women at the inauguration, to end on a rather more light note, shall we say. But I'm going to plunge in with what J. Tate has to say. So the Windsor has won the court case. Whatever the payout will only last them a month. Well, her. Will he be able to put any in his piggy bank? You are cynical, my dear J. Tate. Cynical. I don't think Aurora approves of cynicism. I think she says that you should believe every word that you're being peddled with ridiculous nonsense about £10 million ending up in Harry's pocket. Oh, goodness gracious. And here we have another pig flying. So then R.J. Andrade said Harry's whole suit was about money. I don't think, in fairness to Harry, his whole suit was about money. I think David Sherborne's instigation, and David Sherborne, to those of you who don't know, is Harry's barrister. He is arguably the most expensive junior in the country. He's never going to be made a KC. He's too bumptious. He's made himself too unpopular with many people. But I have to say, he's the man if you want results, especially if you are on slippery ground, because he would teach a thing or two about slithering. Anyway, I don't think, in fairness to Harry, it was all about money. I think, to an extent, Harry is quixotic. Harry is a meow-whipped, really rather pathetic creature who feels that he should be tilting at windmills to protect his wife since he couldn't protect his mother, notwithstanding the fact that his mother was perfectly capable of protecting herself, I've got to tell you. I mean, the only person that I'm aware of who ever managed to outmaneuver Diana was Martin Bashir, and I think what he did was appalling, and I'm not making any excuses for it. But Diana was extremely wily, and we should not underestimate the wiliness that she actually got up to. So she wasn't quite the innocent that Harry would like us to believe that she was, and that he would like to believe that she was, because she wasn't. But anyway, I don't think it's all about money with Harry. I think it's about giving his life meaning. I think it's about giving his life definition. And he was hopeful for the money because, of course, they have an expensive lifestyle and they don't have the income or the capital to fund it fully. So, but it's David Sherborne who's the one who's, in my opinion, financially motivated. GB says, Dear Lady C, much appreciated if you could shed light on the following issue. Prince Harry and Lord Watson. That's a disgrace that that man was ever made a lord. They didn't make Nadine Dorries a lady, but they made him a lord, notwithstanding the fact that she was never involved in any unsavory activities, while he was busy promoting, because of course it suited him politically to go after various eminent Tories and accuse them of all sorts of criminal activities of the horizontal nature, except of course the one party would be horizontal and the man concerned would at least be vertical in one aspect of his being. And so if this being YouTube, I have to be careful how I put things. But he managed to end up being in the House of Lords, notwithstanding the fact that they refused to allow him at first. But they do deals. They didn't do a deal with Nadine Dorries, and she should never have been excluded, but they did a deal with him. So anyway, Prince Harry and Lord Watson have just settled their legal action against the publisher of The Sun over allegations of unlawful information gathering. News Group Newspapers has apologized and will pay substantial damages to Harry, and it has to be said, you've admitted it, but to Tom Watson as well. I can't feel joy for Harry, as he himself has breached others' privacy in his book Spare and elsewhere. And not only has he breached other people's privacy, but he and Meghan have both violated not only other people's privacy, but their right to a peaceful existence, unencumbered by false stories about them. But anyway, Lord Watson and Prince Harry have passed a dossier on misconduct of the group to the police. The group has not had a judge to pronounce in court that any illegalities were committed. The previous Leveson inquiry had made some findings. The Metropolitan Police also had made some investigations in the past. My question is, are the police or even Parliament obliged to investigate the matter further? No, they are not obliged to. The matter was thoroughly investigated under the Leveson inquiry, notwithstanding the fact that David Sherborne, who is an ambulance chaser that would actually be able to teach Gloria Allred a thing or two about spotting an ambulance to chase it, he's characterizing it as a monumental victory. It's not a monumental victory. It is a settlement. And also, I will read out, because I think it's important for all of us to know exactly where the truth lies in this matter. I'm going to read out News Group Newspaper's statement as well as David Sherborne's, and you will be able to see for yourselves what an ambulance chaser he is and how desperate he is to whip up yet another frenzy. He is perfectly suited for Meghan and Harry, I've got to tell you. 3 drama queens well placed together. Anyway, Sherborne has effectively made it clear he would like to go ensnare Rupert Murdoch and Rebekah Brooks. Now, Rebekah Brooks has been tried and was found not guilty, but he's determined, and he's picked up the scent of money the way tracker dogs pick up the scent of drugs. He wanted to amend his case to make specific allegations about the destruction and concealment of evidence carried out by certain individuals. He listed 150 private investigators, as well as journalists and executives. This is going back decades, notwithstanding the fact that there have been trials on this matter. Not only Rebekah Brooks, Clive Goodman, etc., etc. There have been the whole thing is ludicrous. But anyway, also, may I point out, if you think Harry has been given £10 million, which is what some of the newspapers are saying, let's have another pig flying, because there's no way Harry is going to be getting £10 million in his pocket. David Sherborne had to get his brief fee to go into court that first day. He earned his brief fee. His brief fee is extremely expensive. Then he would have had his daily refreshers. He missed out on those, but he has his brief fee. Every other barrister in that court, whether senior or junior, assisting or not, had a brief fee that had to be met by both sides. Mr. Justice Fancourt was absolutely furious and ticked them off about the fact that they settled so late. And Mr. Justice Fancourt forced the issue by refusing to defer or further delay the trial, which meant that all sorts of other costs were going to kick in as well. So both sides who were close to a settlement got together, ganged up against Mr. Justice Fancourt, and when they applied to appeal his decision, that meant that they had the rest of that day to come to a settlement, which they came to. I'm going to read out what David Sherborne said because it's really interesting. In a monumental victory today, pigs flying everywhere. It was a monumental victory, yeah. Pigs really do fly. News UK have admitted that The Sun, the flagship title for Rupert Murdoch's UK media empire, has indeed engaged in illegal practices. They admit no such thing. That's a total exaggeration. I mean, David Sherborne is really well placed with Harry and Meghan. It really is three in a bed together. Let me continue. This represents a vindication for the hundreds of other claimants who were strum-armed into settling without being able to get to the truth of what was done to them. David Sherborne, you're such a defender, but you're trying to destroy one of the main newspaper companies in this country, and we need a free press more than you need money. I'll continue. After endless resistance, denials and legal battles by newspapers, including spending more than £1 billion in payouts and in legal costs. But that proves that you didn't have a leg to stand on. However, as well as paying off those in the know to prevent the full picture from coming out, News UK is finally held to account for its illegal actions and its blatant disregard for the law. It has also specifically admitted wrongdoing against Tom Watson, who supported Carl Beach, a notorious paedophile fantasist who is in jail for, I think, 18 years. But Tom Watson was perfectly happy to destroy the closing days of Lord Britain's life, the closing days of Lord Bramall's life, the career of Harvey Procter. Oh, that was perfectly okay because they were Tories and therefore he could tell and encourage the telling of as many lies about them as Carl Beach could come up with. But anyway, let's continue. Held for its blatant disregard for the law. It has also specifically admitted wrongdoing against Tom Watson. What about the wrongdoing he's done against so many people? And admitted unlawful acts by the Sun, as well as by the News of the World against Prince Harry. Well, the News of the World has been closed for decades. I mean, give us a break. This is such cock and bull. The Sun, as well as the News of the World against Prince Harry. The truth that has now been exposed is that news group newspapers unlawfully engaged more than 100 private investigators over at least 16 years on more than 35,000 occasions. Sorry. Again, he's a barrister, he's a lawyer. He should know that there is a difference between that they engaged private investigators whom they have admitted, some of whom did unlawful things. There's a huge difference between his assertion that they admitted that they unlawfully engaged more than they never unlawfully engaged them. The people they lawfully engaged, some of them unlawfully committed acts that were dubious. And all of this has been covered already at the Leveson inquiry and in various other court cases. None of this is new. I mean, you talk about disgusting ambulance chasing. This happened as much at the Sun as it did at the News of the World, with the knowledge of all the editors and executives going to the very top of the company. Oh, Rupert Murdoch, he's so desperate to get his claws into your bank account. What's even worse is that in the wake of the 2006 arrest of a royal correspondent, there was an extensive conspiracy to cover up what really had been going on and who knew about it. Senior executives deliberately obstructed justice by deleting over 30 million emails, destroying backup tapes, and making false denials, all in the face of an ongoing police investigation. All of this, I have to tell you, is what Mr. Justice Fancourt was quite determined his court was not going to be misused for all of this grandstanding and all of these ridiculous accusations, all of which have been covered years ago and dispensed with. Anyway, let me continue. And making false denials, all in the face of an ongoing police investigation. They then repeatedly lied under oath to cover their tracks, both in court and at the Leveson public inquiry. At her trial in 2014, Rebekah Brooks said, "When I was editor of The Sun, we ran a clean ship." Now, 10 years later, when she is CEO of the company, they now admit when she was editor of The Sun, they ran a criminal enterprise. She has not admitted any such thing, David Sherborne, nor have they, and you know it. They have not admitted any such thing. You are mischievous and you are perverting the facts. Far from being relics of a distant past, many of those behind these unlawful practices remain firmly entrenched in senior positions today, both within News UK and other media outlets across the world, wielding editorial power and perpetuating the toxic culture in which they continue to thrive. Well, I agree that the media often thrives in a toxic culture, but I also think that David Sherborne is as poisonous as any of them. But let's continue. It's perhaps no surprise that all of their senior executives and editors refused to turn up to court to give evidence. Why would they have done it? I mean, come on, you may be propagandizing to idiots who are going to believe you, but do you seriously think that intelligent people are going to believe you? The failure of each of these key individuals to come and answer questions under oath spoke volumes in itself, and their collective silence is deafening. Very sensible. You are such a spinner that you are already spinning as fact what is fiction, and I know it's fiction, and I'm pointing out some of the fiction. Today's result has been achieved only through the sheer resilience of Prince Harry and Lords Watson and your greed, whose willingness to take NGN to trial has led directly to this historic admission of unlawfulness at the Sun. Again, they do not admit to unlawfulness. That is hyperbole, and really it's a lie, and David Sherborne knows it's a lie. It's more than hyperbole. It has only been by taking NGN not just to the steps of court, but inside the courtroom itself, that these claimants have finally managed to extract this historic admission of guilt. They do not admit to the guilt that you are asserting. As a direct result of him taking a stand, I think it should be his taking a stand. However, let's let that one pass. Prince Harry and his immediate family have also had to repeatedly withstand aggressive and vengeful coverage since starting his claim over 5 years ago. What about you're making him out to be some innocent, and that there has been aggressive and vengeful coverage over this claim? Give me a break. This has created serious concerns for the security of him and his family. Oh, Harry, get it? They're colluding with trying to get Harry's security back, his IPP status. Well, I'm not paying my tax money to help Harry and his wife and his children having security. Thank you very much. They can hustle their buns and pay for it themselves. Oh, David Sherborne can pay for it out of some of the monumental bills that he charges. The rule of law must now run its full course. How interesting that you use the law and bend the truth. Prince Harry and Tom Watson join others in calling for the police and Parliament to investigate not only the unlawful activity now finally admitted, which they have not admitted, but the perjury and cover-ups along the way, none of which has been proven. So this is just spurious allegation. It's clear now this has occurred throughout this process, including through sworn evidence in inquiries and court hearings, and in testimony to Parliament, until today's final collapse of NGN's defence. It didn't collapse. You accepted their settlement because you knew that if the case proceeded to trial, your client would lose. Whether he won or lost, he would lose. You may be... Do you think everybody's stupid? Today the lies are laid bare. Today the cover-ups are exposed. And today proves that no one stands above the law. The time for accountability has arrived. Well, I'm going to read out News Group's statement because it's more realistic. And of course, they have, by their own admission, paid out over £1 billion to make good the criminal activities that we all know and have condemned that they were subject to. Today we have come to agreements with the Duke of Sussex and Lord Watson to pay damages and to settle their cases. It is in the interest of all the parties to come to a settlement. This statement is to clarify questions raised after the hearing. In other words, David Sherborne's, quite frankly, shooting craps. I think it's a game, isn't it? A game where you shoot craps. Well, he's been shooting craps. I think maybe he should actually take up residence in Harry and Meghan's 16-bathroom Montecito pad. It has long been a matter of record that the Duke of Sussex's phone was hacked by the News of the World. 2 people served criminal sentences for this in 2006, and an apology was given. Today, a full and unequivocal apology is given to the Duke of Sussex for the phone hacking, surveillance and misuse of private information by journalists and private investigators instructed by them at the News of the World. Phone hacking at the News of the World was not due to be part of this trial, but it is a part of this settlement. In the 1900s and early 2000s, there was widespread use by the broadcast and news media of private investigators. In most cases, their use was for public interest journalism and to obtain information necessary for the purposes of journalism. And I'm going to stop right there and interject for a moment. In 1974, the Sunday People sent out 2 private investigators to Jamaica to try to dig up the dirt on me. What they didn't know was that they were expected and they were trailed by the Jamaican army. I think I've mentioned this in my autobiography, but I've certainly mentioned it in passing over the years. Rudolph Green, who was the chief of staff of the army, was a friend of my parents, and he is the one who had them trailed. So this is a practice that has gone on since at least 1974. And I know from my late stepmother-in-law, Margaret, Duchess of Argyll, that they also used private investigators in her divorce matter, the newspapers, that is, and my father-in-law as well. So none of this it's not anything new. So I just make that point for what it's worth, to put everything in its context. Today, our apology to the Duke of Sussex includes an apology for incidents of unlawful activities carried out by private investigators working for the Sun, not by journalists, during the period 1996 to 2011. So there is the distinction. David Sherborne is saying that they have admitted that it was the Sun. No, they have not admitted that it was the Sun. They have admitted that it was private investigators working for the Sun. Big difference. There are strong controls and processes in place at all our titles today to ensure this cannot happen now. There was no voicemail interception on the Sun, notwithstanding the fact that Harry was trying to claim that there was. It must also be stressed that allegations that were made publicly pre-trial and indeed post-settlement that News International destroyed evidence in 2010 and 2011 would have been the subject of significant challenge at trial. These allegations were and continue to be strongly denied. Extensive evidence would have been called in trial to rebut these allegations from senior staff from technology and legal. After we served our skeleton arguments and evidence for trial, including witness statements, the Duke has not sought to pursue these allegations further, despite his stated intent, and no admission or apology has been made in relation to this. This is significant. This matter was also fully investigated by the police and CPS, that is the Crown Prosecution Service, between 2012 to 2015, at the conclusion of which it was found that there was no case to answer. But David Sherborne is desperate to have some more instruction. Lord Watson's phone was not hacked in 2009 to 2011, and had this gone to trial, NGN would have called evidence from telecoms experts to demonstrate that hacking after 2007 was nigh on impossible due to security upgrades undertaken by telecoms companies. This evidence was also provided to the Leveson inquiry. No admission has been made on this today. After more than a decade of litigation, and 14 years since the News of the World closed down. Today's settlement draws a line under the past and brings an end to this litigation. Indeed, the judge made it clear in remarks in court at the end of the hearing that these cases are likely to be the last liable to go to trial. Any cases now brought years after the events will be liable to be struck out. The Sun today can face the future and continue its proud record of award-winning public interest journalism, investigations, and campaigning on behalf of its readers. David Sherborne's statement is a joke. Of course, he's hoping to whip up a frenzy so that he can make himself more money. I mean, the whole thing stinks to high heaven. And let me point out as well that the figures being bandied about yet again are ludicrous. If you think that there is any possibility that Harry has been given £10 million, and also, it's ridiculous, he hasn't. Also, I thought this was not about the money, this was about getting them into court. So he could prove, because he said he had the money to fight this, and he was prepared to stand the loss, no matter what. So yet again, Harry has shown he's full of hot air. Full. Absolutely just full of it. Carol Fuller says, Lady C, the media dislike you for the simple reason that you fact-check your information, and by doing so you show them up for not fact-checking their information. As for Meghan, I think that once she started attacking people who are suffering with cancer, it tended to wake up people to just how nasty she really is. This brings to mind the other issue that has been taking place in the last few days, involving another prince, a cousin of the king, Prince Paul of Romania, the grandson of King Carol II of Romania. The Financial Times on the 18th of January, so that's the end of last week, they didn't only run a huge piece on him under the title The Fugiive Prince, but they also posted it online to their online edition. Now, I have known Paul de Rumani for over 50 years. Some of you might know that I interviewed his young son, Prince Carol Ferdinand of Romania, when he and his mother were staying here, Princess Paul of Romania. There is a very interesting backstory, I should say, because Prince Carol of Romania, who was Prince Paul's father, was the firstborn legitimate son of King Carol I. His Prince Carol's of Romania's father, Crown Prince Carol, as he then was, who became King Carol II of Romania, eloped Odessa in 1919 with one of Queen Marie of Romania, his mother, Queen Marie of Romania. She was born Princess Marie of Edinburgh. She was the daughter of Queen Victoria's second son, Prince Alfred, and his wife, the Grand Duchess Maria Alexandrovna of Russia, the daughter of Tsar Alexander II of Russia. And one of her ladies in waiting, Crown Prince Carol, fell in love with. And knowing his parents would not approve of the marriage, they eloped. They ran off to Odessa and got married in 1919, validly in the Orthodox Church. That marriage was never annulled. The legitimacy of Prince Carol, their son, has been a hot topic for over 100 years now. And I want to keep this short, sweet, and to the point. There have been extensive court rulings over the years. Portugal, Switzerland, France, the United Kingdom, all confirming that Prince Carol was legitimate, and that Prince Carol was the firstborn legitimate son of his father. Even the Romanian courts have ruled on this, not once but twice, affirming this fact. There has been a huge political football back and forth case in Romania because at least £1 billion is at stake. Paul is entitled to 67% of his grandfather's assets, while his uncle Michael's 5 daughters are entitled to the remaining third, between the 5 of them. Michael's eldest daughter, Margarita, is married to a former Securitate officer, and they have an in at the moment with the Romanian state. And there has been all sorts of toing and froing going on over the years. And Paul was accused of, which is impossible, laying claim to property which wasn't his, when even the Romanian courts have confirmed that it is his. And he was found guilty of, and the case is very complex, and I can go into it some other time if you really want me to go into it. But the fact of the matter is that there's a journalist from the Financial Times called Miles Johnson who pitched up last year when we were all in Malta, because Paul was invested as the head of the Russian branch of the Knights of Malta, because one of his many times grandfathers had been the original head of it. And because Paul is descended from the Russian royal family, he was made, because the previous head who refused to take up the role, but it remained vacant, was Grand Duke Vladimir Kirillovich of Russia. So then Paul was, and the Romanian state took the opportunity of getting Paul arrested as a fugitive and he was ultimately released by the Maltese. The Romanian state had tried to do it in France as well. They had tried to issue an Interpol warrant against him, which Interpol withdrew, etc., etc. But Romania is an extremely corrupt country. Let me make that very clear. And ultimately, they can't prevail because the facts are, and they being the Romanian state, and those who are helping behind the scenes in the interest of Margarita Hohenzollern, who is Paul's first cousin, and who claims to be the custodian, a ridiculous title, of the Romanian crown. She has no right whatsoever. Her father abdicated not once but twice for himself and his descendants. This was before she was born. His father was paid $250,000 every year from the point of his abdication in 1948, I think it was, maybe late 47, early 48, until the downfall of communism in 1989. So the fact is that it's a politically motivated thing, and also there's a £1 billion fortune at stake here. Well, who should pitch up but a Financial Times journalist. And the Financial Times is supposed to be a reputable publication called Miles Johnson. And I warned Paul and Leah that they asked me what I thought. I said, well, I think that the Financial Times is a reputable organization, but I wouldn't trust any journalist I don't personally know. I said, because most of them will work you over, because the truth of the matter is most journalists nowadays, in my opinion, are a form of pond life beneath that of an amoeba. And anyway, this guy promised that faithfully that he was evidently, according to them, that he was going to do proper coverage of it, and that he would actually vindicate them, because all the evidence is in their favor. Instead of which, what does he do? He writes a mean and nasty article. And I rang him up yesterday on their behalf, and I'm going to play the tapes for you. And I warned him I was going to do this. But before playing the tapes for you, I am also going to read out what an exchange was between us, because I phoned him up and identified myself and made it clear what I was speaking about. And when he twigged that I actually was ambushing him effectively, because I was nailing him for committing the cardinal sin of effectively omitting such important information that he was defaming Prince Paul, he asked me if I was taping it. So I said, of course I'm taping it. I mean, it's perfectly standard. He knew who I was. He knew why I was phoning. It's perfectly standard for in situations like that, for things to be taped. And then he hung up the phone. So I thought, right. So I phoned him back and left him messages. And then he said to me at 12 o'clock, he said, "It is completely unacceptable to record me for a broadcast without informing me first." Why? I'm asking him to comment on what he's written. There's nothing wrong about that. Why? Does he need to be worried about anything he says? If he has nothing to hide and everything to reveal, what's his problem? Because he has something to hide. Because he wasn't as straightforward, in my view, as he should have been. Anyway, if you want to speak to me, I would be happy to have a conversation, but you have to inform me first if you are recording me. This is after he's hung upon me. he's saying that. Well, of course, I'm an old hand at all of this, and I know how to deal with journalists, and I know how to call their bluff. And so, anyway, he then says at 12, that's 12 o'clock. Then at 12:08 he says, I strongly disagree with your reading of the article. It clearly reports that Prince Paul is the grandson of Carol II. Well, that's not the same as saying that Prince Paul is the legitimate grandson of Carol II. And he knows, and I pointed out to him, he quotes the enemies of Prince Paul saying that he is really Paul Lambrino, when he knows that's untrue. And nowhere in the article does he say that that's untrue. But this I actually tell him. So I'm not going to belabor that point. I'll just read out and then we can play one. I strongly disagree with your reading of the article. It clearly reports that Prince Paul is the grandson of Carol II. I mean, these idiots, he really thinks that he's going to be able to obfuscate and get away with it with me. I mean, what planet are these people on? Anyway, so I said, please don't waste my time or yours with childish obfuscation and silly game playing. Your last sentence is nonsensical except for the purposes of deception. Where in that article do you state that Prince Paul has been legally acknowledged by a variety of legal courts and royal courts as the legitimate grandson of King Carol II? And I'll interrupt myself here before and say, I know that he has documents and letters from the late Queen Elizabeth II, from the present King Charles, he has Prince Paul's birth certificate, he has Prince Paul's passport, and he knows that Prince Paul was never ever Paul Lambrino, that he is Paul Philippe of Hohenzollern, in much the same way that Charles is Charles blah 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 Windsor. Hohenzollern is the dynastic name, and that he is acknowledged as a prince of Romania. I've seen all these documents, and so has he. So there was no excuse for him to omit such important information, except to plunge the knife in. So, anyway, your sneaky, nasty, insinuating article used a plethora of words to clearly imply the strong possibility that he is a fantasist whose enemies might well be right to refer to him as Paul Lambrino, notwithstanding the fact that you know only too well he has never been. But you don't bet you don't like feeling the pinch of the shoe. Know that it's on your foot. May I console you with the observation that at least you deserve the discomfort, unlike Prince Paul, who has been innocent and victimized unfairly over the years, and now by you. This man pretended that he was going to write a true and fair article, and then proceeded to do the opposite. Then I said, I am still prepared to speak to you on the record if you wish to avail yourself of the opportunity to have a fair reckoning recorded. And he then writes me back at that message from me, he then writes me back at 13:21, is it? I'm not very good with technology. Dear Lady Campbell, no, 13:30. Dear Lady Campbell, as I said, I strongly disagree with your reading of the article. There's nothing wrong with my ability to read. I'm a far more successful and famous writer than he is. I have a far stronger track record of success than he does. So I think in any race as to who actually understands the English language better, I'm going to be Usain Bolt and he's going to be a dolt. Prince Paul is referred to, I strongly disagree with your reading of the article. Prince Paul is referred to as Prince Paul. He's not, incidentally. He's not by this guy. Never. He's referred to as Paul. So he's now trying to obfuscate, and I, of course, I'm so dumb, I'm not going to be able to pick up that what he's saying, he didn't say in the article. But anyway, Prince Paul is referred to as Prince Paul, and his status as the grandson of Carol II is reported clearly. You have left me several voicemails where you have used swear words and shouted. If you would like to put in writing the allegations, claims you are making against me before you publish, please email me with sufficient time to respond. So, of course, I'm so dumb, I'm going to think that this novice is going to be able to outmaneuver me. And of course, he's going to accuse me of things that I haven't done. Like, I didn't swear once, and I wasn't shouting. I was simply speaking clearly and sufficiently loudly that he would be able to hear. So, and it's all on tape. So it's really dumb of him to actually be accusing me. So I responded, you are clearly a game player. I have not used any swear words, nor have I shouted. I have simply spoken clearly and loudly enough to ensure you would hear what I said. You are not setting this agenda. I am. I will not be conducting this by email. You may phone me and I will tape you. You clearly think you can slip and slither with me the way you have done elsewhere. You can't. So, I think it will be more interesting if I listen to this with you. So, I hesitate about the quality of the sound, but hopefully you'll be able to hear. Remember, it's a very old tape recorder. So, I phoned and... Oh, sorry.
Welcome to the untrue messaging service. The person you are calling is unable to take your call. Please leave your message after the tone. To re-record your message, key hash at any time.
Hello, this is Lady Colin Campbell speaking. I'm trying to reach Miles Johnson. Could he possibly phone me back as soon as he gets this message? Thank you so much. Goodbye. So, hello? He then phones back. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, hello?
Hi, I have a missed call from this number.
Well, who are you?
Miles Johnson.
Oh, yes, hello, Mr. Johnson. It's Lady Colin Campbell. I did leave you a message.
Oh, you did? Okay, sorry, I didn't hear your message.
Oh, yes, okay. Well, I did leave you a message. I'm ringing about your article, The Fugiive Prince.
Yes.
Which I found very interesting.
Right.
And I'd like a comment or two from you on it, if I may.
Right, a comment for what purpose?
Well, I would imagine, since you are supposedly a journalist, you might have actually heard of my name before.
I have heard of your name, yes.
Okay, well then, obviously, it's for the same purpose. You and I are both professionals, so I obviously would be speaking to you on a professional day.
What does that mean? Like, or is it for an article or something? I'm trying to understand. Sorry.
It's possibly for an article, but more than likely for my YouTube channel.
Alright, but you would like to talk to me about this now?
Yes, now's as good a time as any, I would imagine.
I need to go through various like this.
It's really very simple. Because I simply need to ask you one or two questions, and so it's really simple. In your article, you refer to Prince Paul of Romania as to his friends, he's Prince Paul, etc., etc. When you say to his enemy, he's simply Paul Lambrino, a fantasist, who, even after everything that happened, claims heirship to a non-existent throne. You then go on at some length to recount all that has happened, and something about the indignity of being called Lambrino, etc., etc. But at one point, Paul had travelled to a public records office in central Bucharest in search of his father's birth certificate. Accompanied by his lawyer, Paul marched in and asked to see the document, etc. The line that should have affirmed paternity was there just as blank as he'd been told. In small letters, he wrote in the name King Carol II. This little act of defiance hadn't changed anything, but winning Vanisala, or however it's pronounced, would. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just curious to know how first of all, I would imagine, and it might be more than imagination on my part, that you would have received many documents to confirm that Queen Elizabeth II, King Charles III, the British state, all acknowledge him to be Prince Paul of Romania. Yet you assert that to his enemies is simply Paul Lambrino, a fantasist, and that most...
I think, look, can I say a couple of things? Firstly, yes, obviously it's saying to his enemies, right? There are different facts, I'm not casting down on it, but he does.
But I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson, at no point in your very lengthy article do you then assert that his enemies are incorrect. On the contrary, at the beginning and at the end of the article, you go with a fiction about Paul Lambrino. Now you...
Can I ask, are you recording this call?
Of course I'm recording this call.
Okay, then you didn't tell me that.
Well, you obviously know that I would be recording this call.
No, I didn't know that, and you didn't tell me that. I think that's not really acceptable. If you'd like to talk to me, please send me an email.
No, I'm not sending you an email. Mr. Johnson. Oh, you've hung up.
He obviously thought that he was going to be able to prevail. You're going to be able to see that he's not been able to prevail. That he thought he was laying a trap for Paul, but the only trap is the one that he laid for himself. So I've phoned back. And if he doesn't want to speak to me, I can speak to him, because he doesn't have to answer the questions. But these are the questions that arise as a result of his howling.
Welcome to the O2 messaging service. The person you are calling is unable to take your call. Please leave your message after the tone. To re-record your message, key hash at any time.
Mr. Johnson, it's Lady Colin Campbell. You have been unprofessional, courteous enough to hang up the phone. It's quite clear that what you think you can do and get away with, not wish other people to rectify. I have absolutely no doubt that you have set out to destroy Prince Paul of Romania's reputation. I know as a fact that you have all the documents to disprove the lie that he was Paul Lambrino or ever was. You know as well as I do that he has never been Paul Lambrino. His birth certificate shows he is Paul Philippe of Hohenzollern, which is the royal house of which his father was a member of. You have extensive proof of the fact that he is not a fantasist, and not only is he not a fantasist, but that the very basis of your article is in itself a fraud by accusing him of effectively being a fraudster or a fantasist. And you are not even-handed because you know only well that you have accused him of fantasy when you know it's not so. You think that you can get away with it by hanging up. You are a coward. You are unprofessional. You are discourteous. But worst of all, you are actually not a proper, respectable member of the journalistic community in my view, because at no point have you actually had the decency to say that you know his enemies are liars. So by failing to do that, you have given credence to the lie. This is defamatory of Prince Paul, and I have given you an opportunity to clear it up with me. You have failed to do so. You have taken the coward's way out, which doesn't surprise me, because the mere fact that you have written the article the way you have written it shows that you are not somebody that I would regard as either admirable or worthy of respect. And I am going to be going with this. If you have any comment to the contrary, please feel free to phone me and I will take your response, failing which I am going to go with this. You have effectively accused Prince Paul of being a fraudster and a fantasist and a liar and a crook. That's basically what you have done by knowing that his enemies have cooked up lies about him, and you have repeated the lies, but you have failed to confirm anywhere in your article that you know them to be lies. Now I know that you have the absolute proof that Prince Paul of Romania is acknowledged to be Prince Paul.
10 seconds.
Cuts out. So I have to phone back, and believe me, I made sure I did. And you see, he's accused me as well of swearing and lying. Not lying. He's lying. He's accused me of swearing and of shouting. And not once have I shouted, and not once have I sworn. So I have to phone, so I have phoned back again. Because I'm speaking at the same pitch that I'm speaking to you. So
Welcome to the O2 messaging service. The person you are calling is unable to take your call. Please leave your message after the tone. To re-record your message, key hash at any time.
unless she's
As I was
shouting.
saying, we ran out of time, so it's really simple. I am giving you an opportunity that you have not given Prince Paul, and I'm giving you an opportunity to somehow make good the lies that you have allowed to stand, and you have repeated these lies. And in my opinion, your behavior is totally unacceptable as somebody who is supposed to be a reputable journalist. And I am giving you a chance to explain to me, and so I can explain how you, notwithstanding the fact you know that Prince Paul of Romania is acknowledged as Prince Paul of Romania by the late Queen, the present King, and a host of other people, including the British state. You know all of this. You have the documents. You have the copies of the documents. I know you have them. So you have no excuse for having failed to point out that Prince Paul's enemies are lying. That means that you have furthered their lie. Now, I am giving you 20 minutes in which to respond to me, to find somehow a way that you can explain away your dereliction of duty. Because you have a duty, Mr. Johnson. You don't only have a duty to Prince Paul, you have a duty to your employers. You have a duty to the truth. You have a duty to fact. And saying enemies say this and friends say that, and you know the enemies are lying, and fail to say that you know they're lying, means you are furthering a lie. Now, if I'm mistaken, please feel free to let me know. And if you fail to respond to me within the next hour or so, I will have no choice but to feel that you have no response, because you have no defense, because every word I have said is true and fair, and I will be going with that. So you have an opportunity. I'm giving you an opportunity which is rather more than you gave Prince Paul. You sucked up would be possibly an accurate word, over a period of time, and you led Prince Paul to believe that you were going to actually write something that was even-handed and fair. Well, it's not been even-handed and fair, and I'm giving you an opportunity. Let's see if you take it, and if you don't, I will be going with everything that I am saying now, and I will be posting it on my YouTube channel, and I can warn you that if you try to tamper with my right to assert that you have done what you have done, there will be hell to pay, because I am not Prince Paul. I know my way around the law, and I know my way around correct behavior. And your article is a disgrace.
One more. Sorry.
Your message has reached maximum length. Message deposited. Thank you for calling. Goodbye.
One more. I believe in dotting my I's and crossing my T's. So, hopefully this is not too boring for you. But, you see, the press can be pretty nasty and vicious. So, we all know that. That's the price you pay when you're in the public eye. But that doesn't mean you have to let them get away with it. But nor should you be.
Welcome to the O2 messaging service. The person you are calling is unable to take your call. Please leave your message after the tone. To re-record your message, key # at any time.
she's obviously
This is the third call that I've run out of time on the other two. Message that I am leaving for you, Mr. Johnson, and I'm going to keep this one very brief. I am going to be going with every word I have said to you. If you have an opportunity to get in touch with me beforehand, if you think that anything I have said is neither true nor fair, if you do not get in touch with me, I will regard your silence as assent and therefore consent. So, which I have no doubt that your silence will be silent, because you really don't have any defense against the way you have conducted yourself. However, just so we are clear about it, I am going to be going with all of what I have taped about you. I consider your behavior to be so outlandish, and unfortunately for you, I have had journalists behave in unacceptable ways with me. You people just don't seem to understand that a story is more than a story when you are dealing with people's lives. Well, you will understand it when the shoe is on the other foot. I would be pretty surprised if anybody before has ever given you the day of reckoning that you deserve. I will repeat what I have said before, and I'm going to say it again. I think your behavior has been disgraceful. I know how you have behaved towards Prince and Princess Paul. I know all the information that you have access to, that they have given you sight of, and for you to write what you did is a total disgrace. If you think I am being unfair, or you think I have said anything that is inaccurate, you have between now and a bit later this afternoon to get in touch with me and show me where I have been wrong. The onus is on you.
Show me that
Thank you. Goodbye. And hopefully you will learn from this experience that, as the Jamaican people say, when you spit in the sky, it will fall in your eye. Your behavior has been, in my opinion, totally unjustifiable and reprehensible. And anybody who has any concept of fair play and justice and knowledge of how damaging omission can be will know that the information that you have omitted shows the choices you have made have been willfully prejudicial and really malicious. Your article is defamatory, and it's cleverly written, it's well written, but it is appalling. Thank you so much. Goodbye. I hope to hear from you. If I don't, I will take this to be consent. Goodbye.
So, there we go. That's it in a nutshell. And hopefully we can end on a slightly more pleasant note. But I have to say, I've been worked over by the press. Harry's been worked over by the press. William's been worked over by the press. Charles, Camilla, Diana, everybody's been worked over by the press. But there are some things that are intolerable and inexcusable. And just as how I find Harry and David Sherborne's behaviour unacceptable, I also find Miles Johnson's unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. I think his behaviour has been appalling. He had a choice, and he omitted to do the one thing that he should have, which was shown that Paul's enemies do not have right on their side. Serious omission. And we will end with Caroline C., who says, in a lighter vein, as a fashion expert FIT graduate, do you have any comments on the stunning dresses worn by Melania Trump to the inauguration and inaugural balls? Noting Mrs. Vance and others also looked lovely, in my honest opinion. I also loved the light blue dress Melania wore in 2017 at President Trump's first inauguration. Well, thanks for the question, and I'm going to answer it. I thought that Melania Trump's powder blue dress the first time around and outfit was chic and wonderful. This, I thought, was far more heavyweight and militaristic. I don't like hats that are worn so low to conceal the eyes. It's just my personal taste. I think that, they're like boaters, and I have one. And you can wear it at an angle, which Melania did when she was in England, a similar hat worn at an angle, but she wore it very low over her face. I thought she and all of the women looked tremendously elegant. I personally didn't like the hat worn so low. I thought her black and white dress was spectacularly beautiful. She's a beautiful woman. And it is really sad that Anna Wintour could be so political that she would keep Melania Trump off the cover of Vogue, when Melania Trump is one of the most beautiful first ladies ever and has one of the most spectacular figures of any first lady ever. Just because she's the wrong party, that's pathetic. Pathetic. I thought Ivanka looked absolutely stunning. She wore a copy of Audrey Hepburn's 1953 dress from Sabrina. In 1953, it was daring to show a bit of ankle. It was, for that time, the dress was cutting edge. Now, I think the dress should have been to the floor. I really didn't like the fact that it showed her ankle. I felt that what was cutting edge in 1953 in 2025 is très passé. We've had the half miniskirt, half long dress sort of thing, and showing a bit of ankle is, no, I thought the line was all wrong now, but all the clothes fit beautifully. I thought Mrs. Vance looked lovely both day and evening. I don't think she's a great beauty, incidentally. People ask how beautiful she is. I don't think she's beautiful. I think she's a nice-looking woman. I think Ivanka is a beautiful woman. Sorry. I think that Melania is a beautiful woman. But I don't think that Mrs. Vance is a beautiful woman. But I do think she's a nice-looking woman and she's very elegant. I thought the level of attire was stunning. And I noticed that some of the more woke designers have shied away from dressing the Trump women, which I think is very unfortunate, because really if you're in the business of selling clothes, you sell them, especially to beautiful women. But anyway, they didn't. I thought we have to mention Lauren Sanchez, because Lauren Sanchez wants to be mentioned, and Jeff Bezos wants us to know that he's got hot chick in tow. Well, she certainly had her booby-woobies on display, and I thought it was crass and inelegant. I thought that it was vulgar and unchic, but it has us talking. She is archetypally vulgar, Lauren Sanchez. She is the archetype of vulgarity. She dresses like a hooker, and she dresses not like a courtesan who would be clever enough to dress like a lady. She dresses like a hooker. She dresses like a streetwalker. Look at what I have on offer. There are other people who do it as well. We've seen Meghan Markle do it as well. Remember her in Nigeria exposing back and sides, and in a country that covers up, or having bits cut out and showing skin, especially when you don't have good skin. Really a mistake. But Lauren Sanchez's peachy dress in the evening was all right. I mean, I think she and Jeff Bezos are an echo chamber, confirming each other's desirability to each other and announcing to the world that each of them is hot. Good luck to them. I mean, I think she is a woman who could, if she dressed with a little bit more decorum, be rather more attractive than she is. But if she wants to dress like a slut and look like a slut, what can I tell you? That's her choice. But she certainly looks like a slut. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what ground you would like us to be covering. Thank you so much. Take good care and Godspeed. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell? And incidentally, have you noticed my voice is not one register higher or 1 decibel louder than it was on the tape? In fact, did you notice the message from the standard female on the tape was at the same pitch and the same volume as my voice? Yet that jerk Miles Johnson is busy saying that I was shouting at him. Oh, and also that I swore. However, we need a free press. And when the press does wrong, they should be called out, but they should not be endangered. And that's what Harry and David Sherborne need to understand. We need a free press more than Harry needs the money and David Sherborne needs the money. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful time and take good care. Bye-bye.